So we are now going forward, and we are here to talk about, can you patent Bitcoin? Learn how to protect your blockchain idea. All right, this is me, Devorah Graeser. I'm the founder and CEO of KISS Patent. I'm a U.S. patent agent, which means I'm admitted to the U.S. patent bar. I prepare and file patent applications for a living, and I help my clients, mainly startups, get patents. I have over 21 years of patent experience. Actually, it's been almost 22 years since I was first admitted to the patent bar. So I have a lot of experience also on both sides of the table because I was in-house at a company called Compugen. And like all startups, Compugen had a ton of great ideas, but a limited budget, and we learned how to kind of make everything work within that. So I can also help you, having been on both sides of the table, get the budget and the ideas and everything protected. This is a disclaimer. Nothing in this presentation or in any material provided, whether verbally in writing, constitutes legal or patent advice. That's what happens when you hang out too long with lawyers. Okay, on to the question we started this off with. Can you patent Bitcoin? Well, short answer is no. Satoshi Nakamoto released it freely in 2009 to the public. The person or persons who are Satoshi Nakamoto didn't file for a patent. So Bitcoin is in the public domain. Bitcoin itself can no longer be patented, but you can protect your applications that are based on cryptocurrencies, blockchain, Bitcoin, the distributed ledger, etc. In particular, applications of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies and of the blockchain are increasing in popularity for patent protection. The rate of patent filings in this area is soaring, and everyone from Amazon to Verizon is filing. Now, this, of course, I'm not even including right now the big banks who are filing for tons of patents in this area. Many other companies view blockchain as an important tool for them, including, for example, Verizon, which surprised me. I didn't know they'd actually filed for something in this area. But they view it as an important tool, and they want to make sure they get ahead of the curve so they're not left behind. So this means that you're actually competing with tons of big cos who are looking to protect their blockchain ideas. You have to make sure yours are protected before you get blocked. And we'll talk about this more in a moment. Basically, you don't want to file too late, because if you have a Bitcoin or blockchain idea, you need to file fast because someone else could file before you. Why is this? Because patents are first to file. The first one to file for a particular idea wins. So if I work on my idea for years, and I don't file before you, and you only work on your idea for a few days before you file, it doesn't matter. First to file wins. So if you file before me, then you win, even if I was working on my idea for a lot longer than you were. So this is really important to remember. Working on your idea for a long time does not give you any kind of defense. The best defense is to file for a patent quickly. If you don't file for a patent quickly, then you could end up getting blocked by someone else who did. So did you know that the CEO of JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon, said that Bitcoin was a fraud on September 18th, 2017? And he said this because he said that Bitcoin isn't backed by anything. But Bitcoin, like all currencies, is what's known as a fiat currency. It is based in having value by the belief of those who use that particular currency. So, for example, the US dollar went off the gold standard in the 70s. Now the US dollar is not backed by anything other than the faith of those who use the dollar in the US government and the US economy. So Bitcoin is backed by the faith of those who use it. And in fact, it soared recently since the hard fork was apparently avoided. Because of that, of course, there is now one Bitcoin instead of potentially multiple different ones. And as a result, the value of Bitcoin went up. As it turns out, quite a few people do have faith in the value of cryptocurrencies. There are new cryptocurrencies which are being formed all the time. What the value of some of these different cryptocurrencies is, who knows? Bitcoin, Ether, etc., are all going up in value. And a lot of folks are filing for patents in this area. So this shows that they have a lot of faith in Bitcoin and blockchain as an important technological area that it's worth investing in. Of all US patent applications that mention Bitcoin or blockchain that were ever published, 1/3 were published in 2017 alone. This is a 20% increase than in 2016. We haven't even ended the year. What this means is that the rate of publication is accelerating. Now, patent publications are what is known as a lagging indicator. The reason why is because patent applications publish 18 months from the first date of filing. So those patent applications that were published in 2017 were actually filed 18 months before. I think the last time I checked this figure was at the end of October of 2017 for publications. Those patent applications would have been filed by the end of April 2016. So there's a huge number of patent applications filed in 2016 that we haven't even seen yet. This acceleration means that you can't assume that your idea hasn't already been filed for. On the other hand, if you wait to see if it's been filed for or not, you'll have this 18-month black hole to deal with. You need to file quickly because you can't guarantee that no one else has filed before you. But I can guarantee if you wait long enough, someone else will file. And you definitely want to be the one who files first, not the one who files second. So again, U.S. patent applications, the number being filed are accelerating, and we're seeing a leading indicator of publications indicating an exponential growth in this area. The blockchain market is itself super competitive. More blockchain startups are chasing investment. Now, it's true there are a lot of investment in blockchain startups, but there's also a lot more startups looking for this investment. There isn't yet a huge widespread adoption of the blockchain or distributed ledger technology among either end user consumers or enterprise. So this means that there are a lot of startups who are looking for customers, with a lot of customers kind of sitting on the fence. Yeah, we're interested in these tools, but no, we're not so certain we really want to get into them yet. Overall, less than 1% of all U.S. startups have VC funding. What this means is that U.S. startups in general do not receive VC funding. So if you have, on the one hand, the acceleration of blockchain startups being formed, on the other hand, you do not have the same acceleration amount of VC money pouring to this area. And yet again, it's also harder for many of these startups to get customers just because many customers aren't really comfortable with the technology yet. So this is leading to a really hyper-competitive blockchain market for startups to compete in. How can you overcome such a hyper-competitive scenario? Well, one way to do is by proving innovation. You need to show that your startup is innovative and is standing head and shoulders above the rest, above your competitors, above those other startups trying to get funding, above the other products being available out there, which customers might consider to be a substitute for your product. You want to show that you're absolutely number one. So you want to be a top startup in a crowded market. You want people to look to you and not to your competitors. You need to show that your startup has proof of its uniqueness. You need to be able to prove this because, of course, on the one hand, you want to be able to prove it to your customers, your potential customers. Maybe they're sitting on the fence. You want them to go to you. But another point is I've had many investors in this area complain to me about a lack of investment opportunities. And I always say, well, why? How can this be? There are so many startups in this area, more coming in all the time. And investors tell me, yeah, there are a lot of startups, but they look so me too. They don't really understand what their competitive differentiating factors are. What's their uniqueness? They don't feel they've really proved innovation to these investors. This doesn't mean that the startups don't have that innovation or they're not unique or that they aren't somehow really special, but they aren't able to demonstrate it. Investors need to see proof. So what can you do to prove your uniqueness to investors and to clients? Well, one way is through patents, because patents actually prove your uniqueness. Patents prove your uniqueness because you're able to distill down your innovation into a single document, or sometimes more than one document, that you file with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. You can actually file multiple overlapping patent applications in a similar area. So patents can prove your uniqueness because you're able to distill it down and put on paper and show proof that you have something which is unique. Patents also increase your startup's valuation by $1 million. This number, I wasn't actually able to find the origin of it, but I've had VCs tell it to me verbally. I've seen them give that number in presentations. They've published it on blog posts. They've given it in interviews with magazines. $1 million per patent filed to increase a startup's valuation seems to be a widely accepted number. So this is a really easy way to increase your valuation while proving your uniqueness. Patents also increase sales by 51%. Now, it's hard to tell if this is correlation or causation, but at least in the enterprise space, there is an element of causation because big companies are reluctant to work with startups if they don't have patents, especially if their competitors do have patents. Big companies don't like getting sued. And they're actually fairly risk averse, even though, you think they'd be big enough to deal with a patent suit, but they're saying, no, we're risk averse. We'd rather not take the chance. So if you as a startup don't have patents and your competitor does, well, the big company's more likely to look at your competitor, because they would say, look, if your competitor's technology turns out to be infringing someone's patent, at least your competitor then would have a defense, because patents can be used as a defense as well as an offense. And this defense could also help defend the big company. So big companies tend to avoid situations where they're likely to have high risk, and this could be a factor increasing sales. Another point is that patents are shown to increase employment growth by up to 36%. Again, it's hard to tell if this is causation or correlation, but startups that are well organized enough to be able to distill down their innovation into that patent application are also clearly focused and driven, and are more likely to be able to do things like increase sales that lead to increased employment growth. So why file your patent? Well, I gave you a few reasons right there. You want to prove your innovation. You want to show to investors and customers and, of course, competitors that you're unique. But there are a number of reasons why you'd want to file your patent that are really compelling now that we should discuss. Of course, yes, you can prove you're innovative. You prove your invention with the patent. You can differentiate yourselves from others, and you want to be recognized as the best. So this is awesome proof. You can also prove you're unique. You can show everyone you're different from competitors, but you can also keep big co's from stealing your innovation. This is important because if you have a really great idea and you develop it, and you also develop a market niche, you don't want the big company to come along and make off with maybe a slightly different concept or a very similar concept but programmed differently and then invade your market niche. Only patents can help protect your unique idea and your market niche from big co's and others from taking your idea. So what do you want to patent? Well, you need to protect the heart of your business. Think of what aspect of your business that you could not live without. That if this part of your business were to be taken away from you, your entire business would collapse. This is the heart of your business. This is absolutely essential for you to protect with a patent. If you don't protect it, you could find yourself actually losing that important part of your business as a competitor comes and steals it away from you. But you also want to protect anything the user experiences. There's a famous saying in US business, which actually came from a Harvard professor of business, who said, customers don't buy quarter-inch drills, they buy quarter-inch holes. They will buy your quarter-inch drill to get to their quarter-inch hole. But ultimately, what they want is a quarter-inch hole. They could care less about the drill. If there's another way to make that quarter-inch hole, and it was better, they'd go with that solution. So your customers aren't buying your cool tech, they're buying the solution that you give them. And how your user experiences that solution is a super important thing you want to protect. Now, I actually had a couple questions on this. They would say, well, what exactly are you protecting? The wireframes? And I'm saying, no, it's more the flow from the user experience. So your back office tech is awesome. But for example, in blockchain, what is it that your blockchain distributed ledger idea brings to the end user that gives the end user that awesome experience? What is it about your invention that is enabling your end user to solve a problem that they couldn't solve before? What is it about your invention enables your end user in the end to have those quarter-inch holes, and that's why they should buy your solution instead of someone else's? It's also important because anything the user experiences is something which your competitors are obviously much more likely to copy. They don't necessarily know about your back-end stuff, and they might have their own approach to solving the back-end problem. But the front-end problem, that is something that they'd be really interested in doing. So you have to look at the flow from the perspective of your end user and that's to say your customer. I know I'm using them interchangeably. That's not always the case, but generally speaking, you want to think about your end user / customer as being the one whose problem you're solving. And you want to think about if a customer would try to copy this awesome solution from the perspective of the user who's using it, what would they copy? How would they copy it? These are things you definitely would protect. So what to protect? Well, first of all, generally speaking, software can be protected in two ways. Outside the US, it can only be protected according to the technical implementation. This is the technical way you're actually solving a particular problem. But in the US, you can actually file for something called a business method. Now, a business method is a commercial implementation of known technology. And as an example, might be, for example, ad tech. So ad tech uses a lot of different targeting and other methodologies, but they've been repurposed to be able to solve the problems of ad tech. So the way in which they're repurposed to solve ad tech problems and maybe also adapted a bit to solve ad tech problems, that is considered to be a business method. Business methods are only patentable in the US. And you really want to protect both because obviously your technical implementation is important, but your business method is really what's going to keep others from coming into your market niche and keep others from stealing your valuable user-oriented solution. You can also protect software in terms of software-hardware combinations, which are systems. This could include unique hardware, maybe for some Bitcoin miners or for others who are doing very heavy-duty calculations. Certain types of unique hardware could be important. But you can also protect software with more generic hardware as long as then the software implemented over the hardware is unique. So, for example, a generic client-server system in a computer system. Also, it's important to think about your solution in B2C versus B2B terms. Business-to-consumer solutions, you are looking at a different end user, different level of sophistication, different product, obviously. With B2B, big enterprise, different sensitivities, different concerns, you also have to keep that in mind in terms of what to protect. With big enterprise as well, you want to consider the solution in terms of how it fits into other solutions and tools that they're already using, if that's appropriate. So some specific examples for blockchain and Bitcoin could be, for example, financial applications built on blockchain. So this could include, coin purses. It could include ways of trading, methods of payment, etc. Anything basically using blockchain or the distributed ledger for these financial applications. Another important type of application for the distributed ledger has been logistics and contracts. These are important because they can be run relatively simply over the blockchain. They can be used internationally. They have some definite benefits, especially when you're talking about international trading. And so these are more applications placed over the distributed ledger, which use the power of it in a way which may not have a direct financial component. And of course, security and encryption applications as well are also very important. But these are just some examples. There's a lot of different types of applications that you can build over distributed currencies or, cryptocurrencies or the distributed ledger. I'll get that right. Your blockchain startup exists in an ecosystem, which is the blockchain ecosystem, and your company has to function within that ecosystem. And here are just some of the things that you need to do within the ecosystem that patents can help you with. One of which is to make deals with partners. So especially if you're working with larger companies, with big cos, maybe selling to the big cos, you might want to have deals with a partner to integrate with their software. Maybe you would end up kind of more of an Intel Inside deal where they sell their chips to another company, which in turn bundles it all together into a computer or other product and then sells it on to the end user. It may be best for you to sell your product in that way. Then you need to be able to make deals with partners. These partners could then either do a joint venture with you or take your product, incorporate with theirs, and then sell the combined product on. Patents help you in these deals. They help define what the deal's about. They keep your partners from straying, and they make it clear that your partner should work with you and not someone else because you filed for the patent. And if they work with someone else, they could find themselves liable for patent infringement in the future. Another important point is that patents enable you to block competitors from entering your market niche. Only patents are the only type of idea protection that allow you to do this. If you don't protect your market niche, then you can, again, go to all the work of developing that market niche and only have another kind of big company kind of swan in and grab it, which you don't want. So if you want to block competitors from entering your market niche, you have to file for patents. You can also defend your company against infringement. If your company is accused of infringement, patent infringement that is, you have patents, then you can offer to make a trade. Many, if not most, patent disputes are actually settled in this way. They don't usually go to court because it's very expensive. Normally they're settled with cross-licensing and some kind of deal, but that only works if both parties have patents. Patents can also support your exit strategy. Patents make you more valuable for an IPO, initial public offering, if you want to go to the stock market. But patents also make you much more valuable to a potential acquirer, and they can help increase your valuation In addition, patents can give a potential acquirer a serious case of FOMO, fear of missing out. They are not only afraid that if a competitor buys you, they'll get your awesome technology, but they're also afraid the competitor might get your awesome patents. And that can be very dangerous to them. And so they might prefer to pay maybe a bit more than they would have thought otherwise because you have patents. Maybe your competitor doesn't have patents or doesn't have so many. And so you're the more attractive deal. So when do you want to file for your idea? Well, one question which has come up, and I see it's come up again on the chat, but one question which comes up a lot is, do you need to have a full product? Do you have actually built your product in order to get a patent? And the answer is no. You don't even need to have an MVP, minimum viable product. You don't need to have anything, no proof of concept, nothing. You just need to have a really good design of your idea. So that's the earliest you could file. So really, as soon as you have a good design of your idea, you can file. Remember, if you can whiteboard idea, you can do patent drawings, which means you'll be ready to get a patent on your idea. So it does not take a huge high level of detail in terms of how your design would work, just a good design. That's the earliest to file. Now, the latest to file is you have to be a bit careful. If you want to get a patent outside the US, then you can't publish your idea before filing. What does publish your idea mean? This, for example, could be releasing your product, offering your product for sale, depending on how you do it, offering your product for others to test, even without a sale, publishing your idea on your website, releasing it in a YouTube video, giving a TED Talk, etc., etc. So any of those things are considered to be publications. If you want to get a patent outside the US, you must file before you publish your idea. Now, you don't need to worry. You don't have to file all over the world instantaneously. If you file first in the US, then within 1 year, you can decide if you want to go international. So we actually have a particular package we're going to offer at the end, a provisional application. If you do that filing with us and then continue the process within 1 year, you can decide if you want to go international or stay in the US. Both are possible. But if you file quickly before you publish, then you leave open the possibility to get patents outside the US. And soon we're going to explain why this is important. In the US, and this is only in the US, this is not in other countries, so this is a US only rule. In the US only, you can file for a patent up to 1 year after publication. Now, only you get this 1 year grace period. So if you publish your idea, then you get a private 1 year grace period for you alone. No one else has it to file for your patent. No one else has this private grace period. So publishing fast can be important if you only want to file in the US. But if you want to file outside the US, then I recommend filing fast. The one thing you absolutely do not want to do is to sit on your idea. If you sit on your idea, someone else could file before you. Remember, first to file wins. Or they could publish a similar idea, and if they publish before you, then they get the 1 year grace period and you don't. So remember, the US system emphasizes to publish fast or file fast. Outside the US, it is only filing fast. It should be noted that patent applications publish 18 months after filing. The only way to avoid this is if you file only in the US, you can file with a request for non-publication. Otherwise, though, your patent application will file within 18 months of your first filing date. For example, that could be that US provisional filing date that I talked about. We'll discuss in a moment what the US provisional is, but your idea will become published unless you decide to only file in the US with the special request not to publish. So where do you want to protect your idea with a patent? Well, patents are per country right. So if you want to have patent protection in the US, you have to file for a patent in the US. If you want to have patent protection in China, then you have to file for patent protection in China. Your patent in the US cannot be used in China itself to defend your idea. We will get a bit into some cross-border ways you can defend your idea, which are a bit tricky. There are some ways to do it, but they won't help you in the other country itself. And I'll explain what that means soon. You need to think about where you want to protect your idea. And this can be where you want to do business. So for example, let's say your main focuses were in the US and China, then you want to file for a patent in the US and China. You also want to consider where your competitors are. If you have a big competitor in China or South Korea or somewhere else, then you definitely want to file for a patent there in order to block them. An example basket of countries that a lot of my clients like to file in, and in this order, is US, China, Europe, and South Korea. So basically all my clients file in the US, All of them file in the US, actually, not basically. They all file in the US. A big portion of those also file in China. A somewhat lower portion also file in Europe. And a smaller but still sizable portion, let's say about 20%, file also in South Korea. Of course, it's possible to file in countries all over the world: Canada, Australia, South Africa, all kinds of places. But for various reasons, especially in the blockchain and Bitcoin area, these 4 countries are the top countries that my clients like to file in. And after reviewing their business strategy with them, I agree. These are the top 4 countries to file in. Now, again, you don't have to file in all these 4 countries at once. You can file first in the US and then within 1 year decide if you want to go international or not. So you have some time to decide. You do want to have patents in multiple countries from what, well, my recommendation, from the business I've seen my clients do, from what's benefited them in the future, because, of course, you're filing for a patent rather before you know exactly how your business is going to go. But my clients who filed in multiple countries for patents tended to have the most mileage out of the patents and to be the happiest with the strategy they'd picked. If for one thing, it's easier to defend your idea if you file for a patent in more than one country, then you have better leverage to actually be able to protect it in those countries. You can also leverage partners and acquirers. So again, if you file in more than one country, then a partner might choose to work with you as opposed to someone else because they know that there'd be shared patent protection, right? Because your patent could help them in the other countries. And of course, also FOMO, fear of missing out. Partners might prefer to work with you as opposed to a competitor because you do have patents in multiple countries and they would be afraid of being blocked in these different countries. So of course, it'd be better to work with you than with your competitor. Same thing is true with acquirers. FOMO, yet once again, super important motivation. An acquiring company might decide to buy you if you have more patents, especially more patents in different countries, because then you look super attractive to the acquirer, and they wouldn't want to let your patents as well as your valuable technology from getting into the hand of their competitors. So FOMO is huge here, and FOMO is helpful if you have patents in multiple countries. And you can also form patent sharing organizations. I actually had a client do this for their software where we formed a special organization where their customers using their software could choose to integrate software into the whole ecosystem, and they had rules under which this would happen and rules under which they'd license their patents to make this happen. So there's lots of things you can do with patents, not just defending yourself and not just attacking others for infringement, but also using it to share with others in a way that can also defend you. All right, now we're getting into a sticky point. Patents have 18th century laws. That was when the patent laws were really developed, right? So the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office and the U.S. patent laws came into being not too long after the Revolutionary War in America. 18th century. These are 18th century laws trying to function in a 21st century world. And a big part of that is that patent laws are developed at a time during the rise of the nation state. So patents are very focused on per country rights, rights within one country, not so much rights between countries. This doesn't mean you don't have some rights between countries. So for example, you can block a competitor who's coming from a country where you didn't file a patent from selling in your country, assuming you have a patent in your country. So as an example, if you have a patent in the US, you can block sales in the US from another country. You can also do this virtual sales, but it is trickier to do. It's obviously easier if you have a patent in the US and in the other country. It just makes life much easier in terms of the defense of your ideas. Another big question that I have comes up with ownership in the blockchain. Just as kind of a primer, in the US, it is assumed that the inventors of an idea, the inventors that are listed on a patent application, own that patent application until it's been assigned to a company. So you can assign ownership of your patent to your company. And in fact, if you have investors, they will typically require you to do this. Once the inventors assign the rights over to the company owns the patent, which is very clear. Now, the question I've been asked is, can a DAO, a distributed autonomous organization, own a patent? Well, my answer is, well, can a DAO own anything? In order for an entity under the law to own property, and yes, patents are property like cars, like houses, like land, patents are property that can be bought, sold, it can be rented, that is to say, licensed. All of the rules that apply to regular, tangible, physical property also apply to patents as property. But in order for an entity to own any type of property, including a patent, it has to be recognized under the law as a legal person. Now, human beings are legal persons under the law. They are allowed to buy, sell, own property. Corporations are also legal persons under the law, and they're also allowed to buy, sell, rent, etc. property as well. No problem. So a company can own a patent very clearly. They're a legal person. Is a DAO a legal person? And the answer to that, I think, is who knows. It is really not clear under what circumstances a DAO would be considered to be a legal person. Corporations are regulated by the country in which they are founded and incorporated in. In some countries, such as the US, there are further rules per state. But the point is, a US corporation is formed under the laws of the US, and because it is formed under those laws, it is considered to be a legal person. The DAO isn't really formed under the laws of any particular country, so it's not really clear to me how it could qualify as a legal person. Now, some people feel this is a benefit. They say, well, a DAO can slip the bonds of the nation state and can go beyond borders, and it doesn't matter. Maybe not so much for the DAO, but for the people who are involved with the DAO or get benefit from the DAO or related to the DAO somehow tied to the DAO, those people, unless they're living in international waters, are going to be living in a particular country, and they'll be subject to the laws of that country that they're living in at the very least. So it's not clear to me that the DAO is going to somehow free us all from these issues of ownership. But on the other hand, it might cause more issues because a DAO may not be a legal person, in which case it's a little unclear how a DAO would actually own something under the current laws. So can a DAO own a patent? The answer right now is, I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. Done some research, unclear. There are so many big blockchain patents have been filed already. So blockchain, distributed ledger cryptocurrency, super important. A lot of big companies have already filed in this area. They see the importance of these technologies as tools for the future, for various applications, not just for fintech, but for other types of applications as well. They want to make certain that their future in this area is protected. So big companies are filing. Amazon has filed for at least 7 US patents in this area. eBay filed for at least 2. Coinbase filed for at least 7. A bunch of other big companies have filed for others. So lots of companies are filing for lots of patents in this area, and the rate of filing is increasing. And I'm not even talking about the banks. They filed for tons of patents in this area. There is a fear of being blocked for startups. So for example, let's suppose a startup is trying to get its idea out there and it's worried, well, I'm going to be blocked by all these other patents. Well, the Chamber of Digital Congress is trying to find a solution that would allow startups and others to innovate without necessarily being blocked by a patent. But they have not found that solution yet. Currently, the only defense is for startups to file their blockchain patents first. Remember, first to file wins. You want to be the first to file. One of the shortest deadlines or shortest differences between two filing dates was 19 days between a important patent of Snap, formerly Snapchat. It's holding down the camera button so that your camera toggles to video automatically. They got a patent for that, and they almost lost it due to that 19-day filing difference. So you really want to make certain that you're the ones to file first, because otherwise you could find yourself on the wrong day of a really, really short time period that divides you from your competitor. So with all these patents being filed and all of this first to file rules, and it's really hard to know what's going on, and there's an 18-month black hole and who knows what's happening, people ask me, can you still patent your blockchain ideas? And the answer is yes. But while it's not too late, you still need to be the first to file your patent. Even 1 day later is too late. You still won't know who has filed which patents for 18 months, but if you file, at least you have a seat at the table. If you don't file and your competitor's patent application publishes before you've had a chance to file, for example, if they publish their app or their technology before you have a chance to file, you don't even have the seat at the table. So you want to file quickly enough that you have a seat at the table and you can negotiate with others on the basis of what you filed for and what you are now trying to get from the government patent office. Don't wait to file, or else someone else could file first and block you, and then it looks exactly like this road close sign. If someone else files before you and blocks you, then that's it. You're at the end of the road. You can't use that idea without infringing someone's patent, and you will have a huge problem. Some of the saddest questions I've seen on Quora happen when a software startup comes to Quora and says, oh, we were about to make a deal with an investor, or about to make a deal with a partner, or about to make a deal with a customer. And then that investor, partner, customer saw that our competitor had a patent application that published, and now they don't want to work with us anymore. What do we do? Well, it's too late. Your competitor basically beat you. They're first to file. They've already published. They've already shown what they have. You're not in good shape. So you want to be the one to file first so that your competitors are looking on you with envy, not you looking at them with envy. Now we're going to talk about how to file your patent. Let's get a little more into nuts and bolts of how to file, how exactly you're going to do the filing process, and really how it all works. So to start off with, as a quick note, patents provide the broadest protection for your idea. They protect the core of your idea. They're the best defense against copycats because you can use patents to block competitors from entering your market space. I keep on emphasizing this because it is such a bummer, and I've seen this happen to startups where they'll work really hard to develop a market space, and then a bigger, better funded competitor will come along and steal it right out from under them. One of the saddest examples was actually with PicSite. They did the first native iOS photo app, and they had a lot of great innovations, but they were run on a really shoestring budget, and they didn't have much of a marketing budget. And then a competitor called Lightrix came along, and they just copied all of PicSite's ideas. I mean, literally, they copied the iOS photo sharing app. They copied everything that PicSite did. PicSite hadn't filed for patents, so Lightrix was able to do this pretty much with impunity. They weren't copying the code; they're just copying the idea. Totally allowed. If you don't file for a patent, that's what your competitor can do. And they kind of blew poor PicSite out of the water. They took all the market. They've been developing the market ever since, and now PicSite is really struggling to find itself. So if you don't want to develop a market space only to find your competitors joining you in it because it looks so good to them, you need to file for patents. So what is patentable? Well, basically, technology is patentable. So software, hardware, and high-tech are all patentable. Mechanical devices, drugs, etc., those are just more examples, but these are all examples of technology. The above quote came from a 1973 Supreme Court case, which decided that genetically modified bacteria actually could be patented. And it asked the question, what is patentable? And answered it by saying anything under the sun made by the hand of man or woman. So again, it's technology that's patentable. What's not patentable? Well, on the one hand, content is not patentable. So music, images, books, video, etc., those things are all protected by copyright. Now, what's confusing is that software code is protected by copyright. That only really protects you against direct copying. If someone takes your idea and they reprogram it without actually stealing your code, then copyright doesn't help you. Names, logos, slogans are protectable by trademarks. For example, think Coke. Coca-Cola, Coke the real thing, and the famous Coca-Cola logo, those are all protectable by trademarks, but not by patents. And again, anything you want to keep secret. Trade secrets are not compatible with patents. The reason why is that patents represent a monopoly that is granted to you by the government in exchange for you sharing the valuable ideas of your invention with the world, to keep your knowledge from staying secret and not being made accessible to everyone else. So the government patent office acts on behalf of the public. They will examine your patent to see if it really deserves to be granted, because of course it is a monopoly right. If you keep your ideas secret and you don't provide enough details in the patent when it's being checked, then that's it. You're going to be pretty much automatically dinged. The examiners who work at the government patent office won't allow it, and you'll have a big problem. So if you want to keep stuff secret, you can't get a patent on it. Trade secrets are not compatible with patents. So what is a patent anyway, and why do you need it? Well, this is kind of a busy slide. If you dump your email address in the chat right now, or for those of you listening to the recording, if you just send me an email, Devora@kisspatent.com, or the easier to remember Peter@kisspatent.com, send us an email and we'll send you the slides. However, this summary slide basically shows you that a patent is a form of idea protection. You can block others and they can block you with patents. And patents are a tool for both defense and offense, as well as being valuable business investments and a valuable asset. You patent your idea by preparing and filing a patent application, which we'll discuss. You submit it to government for examination by a government body, which we'll also discuss. And then they review to see if it should be accepted. To know if your idea is patentable, of course, has to fit into a patentable category, which means it has to be form technology. It also has to be novel and also non-obvious. Non-obvious means inventive, so it has to have that kind of that inventive leap. And of course, you have to be the first one to file for it. If you are second to file, you lose. So you have to be first to file. You can get a patent in 4 simple steps. You can do a search to see if you're first. I do warn my clients if they do a search, they have to reveal the results to the investors. So sometimes doing a search is not always one to do. You may just want to file quickly and do the search later. You need to prepare your drawings in text. I will show you an example of a patent drawing soon. They're super simple. If you can whiteboard your idea, then you can definitely get your patent drawings ready. You then file your application and the examiner checks it. Maybe look at this and say, wow, this is actually really simple. How hard can it be and how long can it take to get the patent, right? Only a few months, maybe a few weeks. Well, no, unfortunately, the first 3 steps are really fast. So search about a week, drawings in text, 2 weeks, maybe 3. Filing the application, I say a day, but it's actually fairly instantaneous. You file electronically, you get a receipt right away with a number. But then everything slows way down. And the reason for this is the human examiner needs to check the patent application. And they have a huge backlog, and they're always trying to get through it. I've had examiners tell me that they're seeing backlogs in their departments of several years. It's not uncommon, especially for new technologies where there aren't enough examiners. And so because of the backlog, it can take 1 to 5 years or more for you to get a patent after you've filed. However, for startups, it's actually good in a way that it takes longer to get the patent. As long as your patent application is pending, but before it's been examined, you can argue that you should deserve really broad claims and that you can defend these really broad claims with the relevant government patent office. So it's not terrible to have your patent application more in potential than an actual patent. But of course, at some point, you'll want to get the patent as well. It's just to note that both stages can be beneficial to you. What do I recommend filing first? I mentioned to you several times, if you file first in the US and within 1 year, you can go international. So you don't have to file in all those countries at once. And the best way to file in the US that I recommend for startups, but also for established companies, is to file a US provisional. It enables you to file fast. Remember, you want to be first to file. Filing fast means filing first. The US provisional has the fewest regulations and rules, so you can file fast and beat the competition. You can change your patent within a year. So let's say you file it today. Within 1 year from today, you can file your regular US full application or file internationally within a year after making changes. You can add material. You can change material. It's not frozen in stone. It's like you're filing now at the end of the year. You can't do anything with it. No, you can make adjustments as needed. It has fewer requirements. So if you can whiteboard your idea, you can file for a provisional. And it's cheaper, but it gives you full coverage. It gives you full coverage in terms of the date for 1 year and allows you to kind of set yourself up to decide what you want to do after. Do you want to file in the US only, outside the US as well? What countries do you want to file in? You have a year to figure this out. You can actually delay it even more in terms of the exact countries. If you file your US provisional first, within 1 year, you file something called a PCT, a special international application that gives you another 1.5 years on top of your first year to decide who you want to file. So you have 2.5 years from the date you file your provisional. And the provisional enables you to do this because the provisional application is recognized all over the world as what is known as a priority application before you file your PCT. Since the provisional application only lasts a year and has fewer rules, it is cheaper, but still gives you the same coverage if written well, which of course we do if you decide to work with us. It gives you the same coverage as a full patent application in terms, again, of the date. All right, here's an example of a patent drawing. This is actually from a Facebook patent on which Mark Zuckerberg was one of the inventors. It is showing the mini feed, so it's showing like the news feed. So you have multiple user devices shown as blocks connected to a fluffy cloud, which is the computer network or internet. You don't have to show it like a cloud, but people often do. All of this is connected to a social network provider, which in turn has a mini feed engine. So this is a really super simple example, but all patent drawings are, for software and hardware at least, are blocks and lines with numbers and letters to label them. Really, really easy. So can you do this yourself? Well, you can, but you need to know the following. First of all, startups can obviously be complicated. A lot of times as a startup, you need to go ask advice for different aspects of what you want to do. Well, patents are really complicated. So if you're going to ask advice for anything in startup life, definitely should be patents and idea protection, because you want to be able to make the best decision for your startup. You need a strategy in order to be able to do this, so you know what you're spending, why you're spending it, when you're going to spend it. All of this can help you plan. But you also have to be confident that you're making the right choice. If you wait too long, you will make a choice by not making a choice. So for example, if you don't file for a patent application before you publish your idea somehow, well, then you've decided you only want to file in the US and you don't want to file outside the US. If that's not the decision you meant to make, then you need to think of it before you allow inaction or not doing something make your decision for you. Another important point is, let's say you decide you only want to file in the US. That's fantastic. You publish your idea and then you miss that 1-year grace period end date. You wait even a day too long, it's too late, and you can no longer file for a patent application even in the US. So again, don't let inaction make your decisions for you. Learn about patents, get a patent strategy, and be confident that you're actively making the right choice. So how do you know about patents? How can you learn about them? How do you know if you're making the right choice? Well, you can come talk to us. Here's all about who we are and how we can help. KISS Patent was founded to help startups realize their dreams. This is a really important point for me. KISS Patent is also a startup. Even though I've been doing this for a long time, we've changed the business model and are moving towards more automation to be able to save you more money. And so KISS Patent was founded to stop the business model that says the benefit for patents and legal work should go to the lawyers and the patent attorneys and not to the client. It was founded to be client-centric, to help startups realize their dreams. Now, of course, startup dreams are realized by successful ideas. If a startup has a successful idea, then its dreams will be realized. So we get patents for startups to help rocket those ideas to success. Patents not only increase the startup's valuation and provide a valuable business asset, but they can also be a great differentiator to differentiate your startup from other competitors in terms of competing for investors, for customers, and of course, for being able to beat out the competition and stop them from blocking you with their patents. So again, patents can rocket your startup ideas to success. So how can we help? Well, first of all, we have fixed price packages only. We only charge fixed prices for everything that we do. We do not work on an hourly base fee. This is really important because if you pay an hourly base fee, no matter what the estimate is, you can end up with a lot bigger bill at the end. You can have really big sticker shock. You also pay only for what you need, and you have full control over what you get because we have different packages tailored to what your needs. With total transparency and openness, you know exactly what you're paying for, why you're paying for it, and why you need it. If you don't need something, then you don't need to pay for it. We also have a lot of experience with startups, so we give you full support to protect your idea. This is also really important. A lot of big firms, even if they're willing to do pro bono or less expensive work for startups, are not used to startups in their business model, so they may not give you the same good protection that we can. So join our patent community and claim the benefits. Joining our patent community is free. There is no charge. You get tons of free learning material, members-only free support with events, webinars, workshops, and one-on-one calls, lifetime 10% discount all our services to community members, and of course now limited time only 20% discount on our basic provisional patent application package, which will allow you to get your patent pending quicker and less expensively. So please join us today and claim the benefits. We would love to see you in our patent community. And just a small ad, we have a free blockchain patent workshop this week. If you join our patent community, you'll be getting the link with the sign up for it. So it'll be really, really fantastic. We'll go in depth review of industry trends and patents, best practices, case studies, tons of Q&A, This is the next level, so you can really get your blockchain patent idea going, but it's only available for community members. Remember, join the community is free, kisspatent.com/community. Join us for free, get advice to the excellent material, and of course, this really awesome workshop where we can answer your advanced questions. Well, that's it. I want to thank you all so much for joining. It was really great. I did answer some of your questions along the way, and of course, I also answered some of the questions that were asked previously. But if you are listening to this and I did not answer your question, then please feel free to email me or Peter, Devor@kisspatent.com, Peter@kisspatent.com, and we'd be happy to answer all of your questions. Thanks so much. Have a great day.